My name is Jack Holden. I'm 35 years old and was married to my wife, Lily, for 6 years. She's 32 but could easily pass for someone in her mid-20s, stunning, charming, and full of life. At least, that's what I thought. We didn't have kids. I was ready, but she wasn't. Soon, Jack, I promise, she would say with that sweet smile that used to melt me. Our life was great, but that wasn't even the best part. The best part was how she made me feel, her kisses, the way she'd suddenly pull me into a hug, the way she'd laugh at my dumb jokes. Every time I held her, I felt at peace, like the world was finally okay. I thought she felt the same. Apparently, I was a fool. Her betrayal turned my love into something cold and unforgiving. People say the opposite of love is indifference, but that's not true for me. Instead, it's this deep, burning rage that keeps me awake at night. If she were on fire, I wouldn't even spit on her to put it out. You're probably wondering how I got here, how a devoted husband became a man planning his wife's downfall. It all started at the company Christmas party last year. Lily always dressed to impress at these events. She had this natural ability to turn heads, and I'll admit, a part of me liked it. I'd watch every guy in the room admire her and think, yeah, that's my wife. But that night, something felt off. She wore a sleek black dress that hugged her body in all the right ways, a little too much, maybe. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was dressing to impress someone else. As we were getting ready, I told her, "Look, Lily, these parties get wild. People drink too much, and lines get crossed. Just don't let anything happen that would make me look stupid, okay?" She laughed. "Jack, come on. I love you, you know that. Stop being so serious." I didn't push it. I trusted her. That was my first mistake. When we arrived at the party, the first person to greet us was her boss, Tim Mason. Tim was the kind of guy who was always just a step away from crossing the line, tall, confident, and full of himself. He was the VP of the company and acted like he owned the world. His wife had stopped coming to these events years ago, probably sick of his antics. "Lily," he said, completely ignoring me as he took her hand. "You look stunning tonight." I wanted to wipe that smug look off his face right then and there. But Lily just gave me her usual relaxed Jack glance. Tim hovered around her all night, always finding an excuse to touch her arm or lean in too close. I kept telling myself it was nothing. Lily wasn't like that. She'd never disrespect me like that. Would she? At some point, I lost track of her. I had been talking with some of the guys, trying to blend in and not obsess over where she was or who she was with. But then her friend Rachel walked up to me. "Hey, Jack, have you seen Lily? She was dancing with Tim earlier, but I haven't seen her for a while." Something about the way Rachel looked at me, like she knew something but didn't want to say it, made my stomach turn. I started searching for Lily. At first, I told myself I was just being paranoid. But then I heard it, muffled voices coming from one of the side rooms. A woman's voice, breathy and unmistakable. I opened the door. There she was, bent over a desk, her black dress bunched around her hips. And there he was, Tim. His smirk vanished the second he saw me. For a moment, I just stood there, frozen. My chest felt like it was caving in. "Oh my God, Jack, let me explain," Lily stammered, scrambling to pull her dress down. "You've got nothing to explain," I said, my voice cold. "You're done. We're done." Tim straightened up, trying to recover. "Look, man, let's not overreact." I cut him off. "Shut up. You think I don't know exactly what kind of snake you are? You've been sniffing around her for years. And you—" I turned to Lily, who couldn't even meet my eyes. "You let him." Tim tried to act tough, stepping toward me like he was going to intimidate me. Bad move. Before he could say another word, I grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the wall. He wasn't so cocky then. "Listen to me, you piece of garbage," I growled. "You're going to regret this. Not just tonight. Every single day for the rest of your miserable life." I didn't punch him. That would have been too easy. Instead, I slapped him. Hard. Over and over until his smug grin twisted into something else, something terrified. By the time I was done, he was crumpled on the floor, whimpering like the coward he was. By then, my buddies Eddie and Paul had shown up, probably tipped off by Rachel. They stood in the doorway, watching in stunned silence. "Get him out of here," I said flatly. As they dragged him away, I turned back to Lily. She was crying, mascara running down her face. For the first time since I met her, I felt absolutely nothing. "Get your coat," I told her. "We're leaving." The ride home was dead silent, except for Lily's occasional sniffles. I kept my eyes on the road, my hands gripping the wheel. "Jack," she finally whispered, her voice trembling. I didn't answer. "Please, Jack, just let me explain. It was a mistake. I wasn't thinking. I love you." That word, love, felt like a knife to the gut. I spoke, my voice calm but venomous. "You don't love me, Lily. You love the attention, the excitement, the thrill of sneaking around. But me? I'm just your safety net, the guy you run back to when you're done playing your little games." "Games?" she sobbed harder. "That's not true. It didn't mean anything. I was stupid, selfish, but it didn't mean anything." I slammed on the brakes, jerking the car to a stop on the side of the road. "It didn't mean anything?" I turned to face her, my jaw clenched. "You destroyed our marriage, Lily. You betrayed me in a way I will never forget. You humiliated me in public. And now you're telling me it didn't mean anything." She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Jack, I'll do anything. Please, just give me a chance to fix this." "There's no fixing this," I said coldly. "You made your choice. Now you get to live with it." Instead of driving home, I took a detour. Lily noticed immediately. "Where are we going?" she asked, her voice tinged with fear. "You'll see." I didn't bother looking at her. 10 minutes later, I pulled up in front of a modest suburban house. The porch light was on, and a car was parked in the driveway. "Jack, what is this? Who lives here?" I got out without answering, walked around to her side, and opened the door. "Get out." She hesitated, her eyes darting between me and the house. "Get out." Reluctantly, she stepped out, wrapping her coat tightly around herself. I took her arm, not roughly, but firm enough to let her know she wasn't going anywhere, and walked her to the front door. I knocked. A few seconds later, the door swung open. Claire Mason, Tim's wife. Her face lit up with confusion and concern. "Can I help you?" "Mrs. Mason," I said, my voice polite but firm. "I'm Jack Holden. I used to work for your husband's company. May we come in?" Claire looked at me, then at Lily, her confusion deepening. Is everything okay? Is Tim all right?" "Oh, Tim's fine," I said with a bitter smile. "He's just had a very eventful evening." Claire stepped aside cautiously, motioning for us to enter. Lily looked like she wanted to disappear, but I tightened my grip and led her into the living room. "Please have a seat," Claire said, glancing nervously at Lily. "No, thank you," I replied. "This won't take long. My wife has something she needs to tell you." Lily's eyes widened in panic. "Jack, please." "Tell her," I said sharply. Claire's gaze flicked between us, suspicion dawning on her face. "What's going on?" I turned to Lily, my expression cold, unyielding. "Go ahead, Lily. Tell her what you were doing tonight. Or, do you need me to do it for you?" Her lower lip trembled. I... She swallowed hard. "Say it," I barked. "I was sleeping with your husband," she blurted out, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry." "I don't know what I was thinking." Claire's face went pale. Her eyes darkened into thin, furious slits. "How long?" Lily hesitated. But I wasn't going to let her off the hook. "Tell her, Lily. The truth. All of it." "For years," she whispered, barely audible. Claire let out a bitter laugh, shaking her head. "For years," she repeated, her voice dripping with disbelief. "Years of lies." She turned to me, her expression a mix of fury and pain. "And you just found out tonight?" I nodded. "Walked in on them at the office party." For a moment, silence hung in the room like a thick fog. Then Claire stood up, walked over to Lily, and slapped her. Hard. Lily staggered back, nearly falling over. "You filthy," Claire spat. "You can have him. I don't want that cheating bastard anymore." After we left Claire's house, I drove Lily to her sister's place. She was a wreck, sobbing, begging me to reconsider the entire way. "You don't have to do this, Jack," she pleaded through her tears. "We can work through this. We can fix it." "No, Lily," I said quietly. "You broke it, and some things can't be fixed." When we arrived, I didn't bother helping her with her things. I handed her the house keys. "Don't come back until tomorrow afternoon," I said flatly. "By then, I'll be gone." "Jack, please." "Goodbye, Lily." I turned back to the car. Then I remembered something. "Oh, and take these." I pulled her panties from my pocket, the ones I'd found in Tim's office, and threw them in her face. She collapsed in sobs as I drove away. I returned home when the sky was starting to lighten, just long enough to pack my last things. The house felt strange, like walking through the ruins of a life that wasn't mine anymore. The pictures on the walls, the scent of her perfume still lingering in the air, it was all so familiar. Yet none of it felt real. I packed quickly, not wanting to spend a second longer in that place than necessary. Before I left, I grabbed one last thing, the framed photo of us on our wedding day. Not out of sentimentality. I took it because I didn't want her to have it. The divorce proceedings started almost immediately. True to my word, I offered her a deal: split the assets evenly, no fight, no fuss. On one condition: she didn't contest the divorce. And I wouldn't drag her name through the mud with adultery charges. She agreed. What choice did she have? She knew I had enough witnesses and evidence to ruin her completely. As for Tim, I kept my other promise. I filed a lawsuit against him for alienation of affection. It's an old law in some states, but it's still on the books, and it exists for situations like this. I wasn't after money. I was after humiliation. The lawsuit made headlines. VP of Mason Industries sued by former employee for adultery. It wasn't long before the board got involved. Turns out, they weren't thrilled about a scandal dragging their company's name through the mud. Tim was forced to resign, to spend more time with his family. Oh, and his family? That didn't last long either. Claire divorced him, took the house, the kids, and a hefty chunk of his savings. Last I heard, he was living in a one-bedroom apartment, unemployed, drowning in alimony and child support. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. As for Lily, she tried to move on, but she quickly found out the grass isn't greener on the other side. Word of her affair spread like wildfire, thanks to a few strategic conversations I had with mutual friends. She lost more than a husband. She lost her reputation. Her once supportive family? Disgusted. Her friends? Gone. The dream life she had taken for granted? Vanished. She reached out to me a few times, begging for forgiveness. But I had already given her the only thing she truly deserved: silence. "I made a mistake, Jack," she'd say. "I'm so sorry. I'll never stop loving you." I never responded. I didn't need to. It's been a year now. The pain hasn't disappeared completely, but it's dulled into something manageable. I'm in therapy, working through the anger and betrayal. But honestly, knowing they both got what they deserved helps. People ask if I'll ever trust anyone again. The truth is, I don't know. But I do know this: I'll never settle for less than I deserve again. Lily destroyed the life we built together. But in doing so, she gave me something I didn't realize I needed: a second chance. As for her, she gets to live with the consequences of her choices. Every single day. And that's a punishment I wouldn't trade for anything.